to have you here. And also for the topic that we're presenting. The title of this presentation is The Era of Antisocial Social Media. Sounds like an oxymoron, but it's really regarding a shift in the online platforms. So we're going to spend some time this morning heightening awareness. But to kick us off, I'm going to have Melissa talk about the resources because we are hosted by the Business Insight Center for this presentation. We collaborate, the Small Business Development Center collaborates with the Central Library Business Insight Center to present these on the first Wednesday of every month. So Melissa, what can you tell us about the library?
Hello. First of all, the picture is my lovely division head. She couldn't make it today, so I'm subbing in. I work with her on the Business Insight Center team. We specialize in business research, so things like demographics, market research, any kind of data set that might help with your business and making future decisions. We could help with that research. We also do prior art checks for patents and trademarks. All our services are free and by appointment only, so feel free to send us an email, call, or just drop by.
That's great. You know, Melissa, one of the questions I get a lot is, are there grants for business? Does your department handle anything with some of the grantsmanship?
If you are a nonprofit, one of the other divisions actually has the grant center where they have a database to look up grants and such. When we have a business who's just starting out, there really is not that many grants to be had. There is one from the city that is a reimbursement matching grant that was made available for startups this past year. But other than that, your funding is going to be mostly small business loans.
Thank you. The Business Insight Center has been a tremendous partner for a lot of the SBDC clients, whether it was industry reports. Recently, I needed HVAC and excavating and paving. And quite honestly, they have databases that provide this information that's been incredibly helpful. So keep the Business Insight Center and the Carlson Center for Intellectual Property on the top of the list of resources that you need for your business. So let's get started on understanding who I am and the SBDC. Most people think of us as the Small Business Administration. We are not. The U.S. Small Business Administration is a federal agency within the federal government that does provide funding for a variety of programs, including the Small Business Development Centers. The SUNY Brockport SBDC is one of 22 centers that are here statewide in New York, and we cover all counties in New York State, but we're one of 1,057 nationwide. So every state in the United States has an SBDC program that is housed within the business department of an institution of higher learning. So that could mean a community college or a college university like Brockport. If you go to Syracuse, there's the Onondaga Community College SBDC. Go to Buffalo, there's the SUNY Buffalo SBDC. So the best place to look for resources and how to get an appointment would be to go to our website on the state level, which is nysbdc.org. And we can put that in the chat and have that available for you. So what do? We meet one-to-one with people, and we provide free and confidential counseling on business topics. That one-to-one business advisement gives you, there's no limit. You can come once, you can come 100 times. And we follow clients frequently. During the pandemic, I had clients from 1999 that came back. We just reopened their case and went forward from that point. We also provide training webinars like this one and workshops. And very soon in 2023, we're going to be back to in-person workshops, which is going to be great. We also have many publications like our Blueprint to Success that we provide free of charge to our clients. We have publications on social media, cybersecurity, a whole host of topics that are published, developed, written, and published by the Small Business Development Center. In conjunction with what the Central Library can provide at the Business Insight Center for Marketing Research. We also have an SBDC Marketing Research Network staffed with professional business marketing librarians who can help us with additional information and industry reports, lists, and things of that sort. We can help with government procurement, industry lead generation. We have a program called BidLinks, which is a lead generation program. On the training and development, we have Skills, which is a self-directed tutorial on everything business related. So you can do your business plan there, develop a business model canvas, come to understand things like accounting, forms of organization. It was really originally created for the self-employment assistance program for people to take their training that is required in that program. We also collaborate with other economic development agencies, the city, the county, state ESD, and so on. And as I said, there's 22 centers in New York, 1,057 nationwide, and we have access to the 173 advisors and staff. So if your advisor doesn't know something, we can reach out to advisors around the state that might have experience in something that we need help with. One example of that, I had a client that wanted to open a business doing Pacific whitetail shrimp farming. I never heard of it before. I leveraged the Marketing Research Network, but I put out on our, we have a sort of a listserv where I can put out an email, it goes to all of the advisors and ask, did anybody ever hear of this? Lo and behold, one of our Mid-Hudson SBDC advisors just finished a project with that, so I was able to get lots of information. So when you come to the SBDC, you'll have an advisor that's assigned to you, but you have the resources of the entire network in New York at your disposal. So think about joining us. If you have questions, want an appointment, go to the nysbdc.org website, click make an appointment on the red tab that's in the upper right-hand corner, and we'll get started. I will tell you that the time lag, we're a little short-handed on staff. We're down 2.5 positions. So it might not be a day that you hear from someone. It might take up to a week before we can get to you. But nonetheless, we'd like you to come and get the resources that you need so you have proper direction when starting, growing, or even selling your business. And so much for the SBDC commercial. Let's get on with the program. So today's presentation is based on content from the Harvard Business Review Winter 2022 issue. And the way this came about was that I went to Florida for the New Year's, and on our way back, we flew back on January 5th, and we had a long layover in Baltimore. And so I went to the bookstore and I found this copy of the Harvard Business Review. And as I got started on it, it was amazing the amount of information in here, the expert advice. And I would encourage you that either check with your local library to see if they have a copy that you can read there as a reference, or I would encourage you to see if you could either get the digital copy or the hard copy as I did. Now, I will admit it's not a cheap, it was $20 for this. You can't look at it as a magazine. It's really a reference guide to some really amazing articles that are in here. But as I started reading through, the one article that really hit home for me was this article by Sarah Wilson. She is the founder and CEO of CW Projects, and she helps with digital marketing and things. And her article was entitled "The Era of Antisocial Social Media," articulating a very significant shift in social media platforms. And so I saw this. So between Baltimore and Rochester Airport, I sat there with pen in hand and started developing this program on the content of this information, because I felt that it was very timely, especially in January coming into 2023. We've got businesses that are starting up. We've got businesses that are still recovering from the pandemic. And I think that this information is timely and very significant. Now, the purpose of today's presentation is not to make you an expert on the shift that's happening in social media, but to heighten your awareness and to give you an understanding of what is happening. So I think it's important that you become aware of these things so that you can learn more about it and be able to focus your marketing attention, your marketing strategy on that. So I think it's well worth the time here. So let's take a look at what we're going to do in terms of an agenda here. So I'm not going to overwhelm you with every single thing that was in this issue. It would be way too much overload. So we're going to focus on a few things. We're going to take a look at the platforms that are available right now that people have been using over the last 10 or 15 years. You know them all, LinkedIn and Facebook and so on. So we're going to take a look at what's happened there. We're going to try to understand the changes and the shift in social media usage for small business owners, because this is an area that, all you have to do is watch Shark Tank and hear how people have amassed $700,000, $1 million in sales in less than 3 months by leveraging social media. But things are changing there, and we're going to try to present it so that you can understand these changes. And we're going to talk about digital campfires. This is a new term. This term was coined by Sarah Wilson, and we're going to talk about the 3 different areas that encompass digital campfires. And then we're going to talk about how you're going to leverage those digital campfires along with traditional offline marketing, recapturing offline traditional advertising, because we're seeing a huge uptick in revisiting that. Then we're going to talk a little about what you can do as a business owner. And as far as questions are concerned, if you want to wait to the end, that's fine. But Melissa will be monitoring the chat. And if we have questions come up, we're going to address those right away. Okay. So as we get started, these should all be familiar icons with you. We're looking at Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Gab.com, LinkedIn, YouTube, and so on. These are all the familiar platforms that have been evolving over the last 10 or 15 years. People are using them. We've seen Twitter in the news recently with Elon Musk buying Twitter and things changing. We've got, LinkedIn, which has been a collegial kind of professional platform that has been used primarily to connect conversations about business. But it's over the last, I think, since the pandemic, really evolved into more of very specific, congratulations to people getting promoted, articles, information coming through, celebrations, and in some cases you never used to see on LinkedIn political conversations. They were always mostly related to business, but we've seen that evolve through the pandemic and through elections so that there's more people wanting conversations. But that too is changing in itself as well. So in looking at these platforms, they have traditionally been used for business, for announcements of new business, showing photos, telling product stories, so like on Facebook, when I counsel a client, one of the things I would always tell them, you need to get on at least 3 platforms, and that would typically be Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter or Instagram, where you can constantly evolve the conversation about your business, your startup, the products that you're offering, that you have to have that conversation. And you get followers, and then the followers join and, they friend you, and we have this broad conversation. It reaches hundreds of people. There's influencers that have maybe 170 million followers. I mean, people have really embraced this. And all of this has been very successful for the past 10 or 15 years, and businesses have really learned to embrace it. So when the topic was that it's presenting a dilemma for small business owners now because of this shift, it means that you're going to have what you think So we have the answers, but now they've changed what the questions are, because things are shifting and changing, and you're going to need to make that shift in order to get your brand out there and continue conversations with your customers. So converting customers through internet access has been a mainstay. We've seen it happen in large numbers for many years. And I think that this change is part of the evolution of what we're seeing. And it's going to be informational for you and challenging for small business owners, especially because we don't have marketing departments, we don't have research departments. However, if you leverage the Business Insight Center and the SBDC and other resources, you can behave like a big company because you can have access to these resources. So in taking a look at, one of the things that I always like to look at is statistics. It's really important to me to see, well, what are we talking about? Like, how significant is it? So I found this chart and article that I read along with it on the statistics of e-marketing. It was by insiderintelligence.com. And this is talking about the average time spent per day by US adult user on select social media platforms. Now, they qualify it by saying they're using this because if you add up 24 hours in a day, it's like they're using more than 24 hours. But this is including television time, being at work. So you got a lot of people that are, on YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat, and so on while they're working. It's a multitasking, per 1 hour of multitasking on a desktop or a laptop or a phone. This is what they came up with in terms of the usage of where people are. So 45.8% on TikTok. TikTok has exploded because it's a video based, short video kind of thing. People make TikTok videos and put them up, multiple times per day. YouTube is right up there too. I was a little surprised that YouTube fell below TikTok because YouTube has been the go-to place. I use it all the time. I get someone that gives me, like a term, epitaxia wafer manufacturing plant. Holy cow, I don't know what that is. So I might jump on YouTube and find an expert. Very often I have found accounting expertise for my clients on YouTube. So, 45.6%, I can see myself spending some time on YouTube as part of my work. Twitter, 34.8%, Snapchat, 30.4%. And this is based on, multitasking. So I have to kind of repeat that because it's not like they did one and then the other. They're jumping from platform to platform. Facebook, 30.1%, same with Instagram, and Reddit, 23.8%. So I think that, this really shows the amount of time that people are spending online, which validates and is proof of concept that marketing on the internet is essential. So these social media platforms are still showing growth despite growing chorus of opposition. So people are complaining about things, but these social conversations continue to shape everything from our culture to the media buying cycle to our most intimate relationships. Sarah Wilson has coined this, I think, very well. And I think it speaks volumes that social media is not going away, but it is changing. So what is changing in the digital platform? So to kind of understand this is actually, I think this is a result of being sequestered in our homes. We had to shelter in place. The pandemic caused everybody to get online. Our kids were online with teachers. Our companies were putting our employees online. Everything was stay at home and get on the computer. And I don't know about you, but I reached a saturation point where I was pretty done with it. And I was especially done with how companies jumped on the advertising. And I look on my Facebook feed and all I see are these advertisements. And it was even more infuriating to know that if I was looking to buy tap shoes, which I was, because I want to take tap this year, bought some tap shoes, all of a sudden in my news feed are all these advertisements regarding tap shoes. Or if I was looking up something on whole food plant-based diets, all of a sudden I've got all these ads. And that was pretty annoying. So people really started resisting that, being on these broad-based where everybody can see broadcasted platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on. And they were backing away. They were coming and saying, I want more privacy. You don't need to be in my face with everything. So what we've discovered is that they are craving privacy. They are craving safety I don't want to be out there where somebody's hacking into my Facebook page. They want respite from the throngs of people on social media. So all these folks that are in, you can unfriend them, but they're there, and that includes parents. I have a young daughter, 25 years old, and at one point she unfriended me on Facebook because she didn't want me seeing what was going on with her intimate group. Okay. They also have very distinct personal characteristics. And these, for example, if you take gamers that are online playing these very complicated games, you might realize that a distinct characterization is that they're sleeping from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. and then they get up and they game through the night. So if I understand this distinct characterization, I might not want to run my ads during the day. I might want to run them at night or frequently through the night. So these distinct characteristics are something that we need to understand. We also have to face the fact that they now have really focused on personal preferences. I don't want to be on Facebook where everybody can see what I'm doing. I want something more personal. So I'm going to burrow down into being with people that are like me and be on social media, but in a very specific way. And they really want to be on social media with people like themselves. So gamers have very specific, distinct characteristics. When they sleep, what they buy, what clothing they wear, what games they prefer, and they want people interacting with them online who are very much like them. So when we think about this particular article did focus on 12 to 34-year-olds who are forming this conversation about change in social media. And we also discovered that Gen Z, the audiences there, their usage of traditional platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, and all that is flat and declining. That's really significant. It was never understood that social media would ever go away, but they never expected it to decline. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a decline in the general broadcasting and an increase in a variety of other areas. So to understand distinct characteristics, we're looking at digital marketing will require our small business owners to actually know these customers' distinct characteristics as they evolve, because these customers are being more closed, more interactive with people like themselves, and they want private spaces in these online spaces. So Sarah Wilson went into great detail in her article about what these distinct characterizations equal, how to kind of figure them out, and then also to really recognize. Now, she coined the term digital campfires, where she said social conversations continue to shape everything from culture to the media cycle. But digging a little bit deeper, there's some nuanced pictures that emerge about social media users today that has a very important implication for the ways that we as small businesses brand and reach our customers. And specifically, when you look who is, and more importantly, who is not driving the growth of and popularity of social platforms, the key demographic really appears to be somewhat in retreat, and it's largely with young people. So as we look at what this really means to reach these audiences, and I have a lot of clients that are creating apparel, products like shea butter and things like that, and their target audience is this 18 to 45-year-old group. So understanding that, and who has money, who's working, who's going to buy these products, to understand this, the first step is to understand those distinct characterizations of these more closed and more often private and interactive online spaces. Sarah says, I believe that naming a trend helps provide a framework for understanding it, and she has named it digital campfires. Now let's think about what a campfire is. I'm a camper. I have a little vintage cruiser, and we go out and we have a campfire almost every night at our campsite. And that includes people that are sitting around. where we have intimate conversations. We talk about things of similar interest. The fire is blooming and we're all here and we're gathered. So it's a perfect terminology in my mind to call these digital campfires, because they do include a three-pronged fire that has different segments to it. So these private messaging campfires, this is one of the characteristics of a digital campfire, is a private messaging campfire. This is where you connect online with friends, family, and colleagues, primarily to seek out private or small group messaging for the purpose of gathering and communicating. So this could be direct messaging on Facebook or in a very private group. I think that, we know about Facebook groups and so on. So, these groups are so specific right now. They are inclusive of, you can say, I'm a crocheter, so I crochet frequently. So if I were to go to Facebook groups and search crochet, I would find probably 50 to 100 maybe different crochet groups that are really specific. There's Christian crochet, there's hemp crochet, there's only crocheting with cord, and very specific. So we're seeing this digging deeper into finding people that are more like me. So when we have a conversation, there's not controversy, pushback, contradictory remarks. They're people like me, so we can be happy conversing in a group, showing our work, and so on. So this private messaging is really an interesting kind of concept, because whether it's DM or, there's a way that you can have apps that will text people directly. We see this with the airlines now. They don't send you an email. They do, but they mostly tell you about your flight when you give them your cell number, and they can text you. That's direct messaging. That's finding me as a passenger on your specific airline, and I'm going to be communicating with you directly. That is a private message campfire. They're utilizing it. So if we take a look at, there was a survey done in 2019 by Zach. It's basically a youth-focused creative agency. And they said that nearly 2/3 of the 1,000 people that they polled, all under 30, said that they prefer to talk in private message threads rather than an open forum and open feeds. 60% of the respondents stated that talking in private groups means that they can share more openly. In other words, it's more safe. I don't have to be worried about someone coming after me. So I think this is an important thing that we need to take notice of as business owners. So like, let's say Southwest, that does private messaging to its passengers. As a business owner, in addition to their email, you may want to get their cell phone number now. Whether they give it to you or not, that's another question. But it is turning the tide of how we communicate directly with our customers. If we send an email, we're not necessarily sure that they're reading it and not just deleting it upon receipt. But the direct message kind of guarantees that it's going directly to them. And I've had this happen with me with multiple companies. So when I recently ordered a violin for my granddaughter, and every step of the way, they told me, when it was packaged, when it was shipped, where it is going. And then I also had the postal tracking. So they were staying in very close communication. So I think when we think about private messaging campfires, we have to understand that this is the hardest campfire for marketers to penetrate. It is going to be more difficult to get the information you need to be able to direct message them. And you need to get to know your audiences intimately in ways that go way beyond simple demographics. So specifically, work to understand their habits, especially how they consume content and communicate across these multiple platforms, and use this information and inform the channel on which to communicate with them. So that means that you're going to have to really be aware. If you have a retail store, if you got a brick and mortar, how you converse with them and build that trust with them so that they will give you, let's say, a cell number or some communication pathway that's more intimate. And, you have to think about how you can reach customers by mimicking their own behavior. Typically in marketing, we would think about sending out cast a wide net and see what you pull in. This is upside down. This is not doing that. This is fishing specifically in small ponds where you know where they are. And I think that this specific topic, private messaging campfires, is worthy of you taking time to only focus on this, learning more about this, and figuring out how your business can actually engage in this. Okay. Instagram has and Facebook have really recognized that this private messaging is critical. And they actually went out and started preparing for a new standalone. So there's a new app that's called Threads. Threads is a standalone app designed with privacy, speed, and your close connections in mind. You can share photos and videos, messages, stories, and more with your Instagram close friends list. Okay, so preparing that list, having your company have one of these apps so that you can get people in there. Threads, and you can customize the experience around the people who matter most. So I'm going to show you the advertisement, the video that Instagram put out for Threads. And when you see this, you're going to understand how very specifically they have targeted that pool of people that like-minded, how they communicate on this app, and what it really represents. So buckle up. This was this was crazy.
The audio isn't playing correctly because I think it's trying to hear it from your microphone.
I'm gonna end it a minute. So the audio was simply a music playing. The important thing was to see all of the images that came through that. Young people, what are they showing? Funny faces, my new hairstyle, my new hair color. All of that was just images. They were texting, so they were direct messaging. They were sharing pictures of things I'm doing right now. My head's in the sink. I'm doing it. I'm going to have half black, half blue hair. So this is a very, very focused population that is using Threads. Now, how could a business like yours leverage this and introduce it to people? That's going to be the big question. And I don't have all the answers to that, but I think there are some things that you can do that would do that. And one of them is to learn about it, open an account in Instagram and Threads and play with it and see, how you can get a list together, or learn more about it is probably the best first step. And then you're going to build that private group of customers. So I do a lot with homeschoolers. My daughter homeschools, and I kind of evolved through that. Homeschoolers right now are exploding. So people are pulling their kids out of school, public school, and they're homeschooling. And they've actually developed these homeschool districts. So in my daughter's homeschool district, there's 35 families, about 70 kids total. And they do a lot together, but they're texting, direct messaging through like their cell phone text, but they could literally use Threads to be that focus where all of the homeschoolers are in on that thread. And then they could share, videos and comments. They can ask. It would be very private. So the thing I do for homeschoolers is once they pull their kids out of school, someone brought up the fact that, well, how are we going to do school pictures then? Well, I do photography, so I went down and we shoot school pictures for all the homeschoolers, and, it solved the problem. But communication was email, text message, it was really kind of disjointed. Threads presents a really awesome opportunity to get this list of people in the Threads app, and then we can communicate privately, safely, and without any problems from one to another as a very private group. This getting involved in this and understanding this kind of a platform, and there's many, many more platforms out there that are evolving like this. My lesson to you is to figure out what they are, what would best suit your business, and how can you engage by first learning. So keeping that conversation going with infos and photos and so on keeps you as a business in front of them. And by determining those distinct characteristics we talked about of your customer base, and you can feed them with your offerings and even just information, So yes, this will take time, but you're going to need to do this because this is the shift that's happening. They're burrowing down. They're in these groups. They're engaging in these different apps that are going to give them that private, safe, common conversation that they're seeking. So the second campfire is one that's called the micro community campfire. And this is a little different than just groups. This is hyper focused on specific things. So it's going to be common interest, common beliefs, because sometimes like I've been on crochet groups where it was a very atheistic kind of posture, and I was kind of uncomfortable with that. Found myself a different group with women my age, more along the lines of my beliefs and interest and passions and why I do what I do. So those are, very specific characteristics that you have to pay attention to. The interaction is private. It's small groups, so it's really just people that do what I do with my crochet hook, usually on platforms like Facebook. So Facebook is still number one in terms of providing groups and allowing you to start a group, that can be that specific. But what's really interesting is these groups are not just like click and join. Now you have to ask questions because it's hyper specific. How long have you been crocheting? What kind of crochet work do you do? Do you share patterns? And, where are you located? And do you understand that you cannot sell patterns on this group site? And you cannot do this and that. And if you answer all the questions right, then it goes to an administrator. And then the administrator decides that based on your answers, whether I'm going to let you in the group or not. So this is very hyper specific to the communities and specific groups. And you can be kicked out if you don't comply. So we did have someone on one of my crochet groups that started listing all the patterns that she's written. And then when you click on it, it took you to, like her private page where you can get charged for these. Well, they kicked her out because it was very specific and said, you are not to sell your patterns, books, crochet projects on this site. This is just for information sharing and teaching so that I could learn, type of thing. So these are very hyper specific groups that we do see on Facebook, but also if you take a look at YouTube is amazing. I mean, the things you can learn. When we got our camper, we needed to put a weight distribution system on it, and the dealer wanted like $800 to do it. And I'm like, I'm not paying that. Sure enough, we went to YouTube. The manufacturer had wonderful videos up, and my husband and I were able to install it, no problem, works great. And all because it was a very hyper specific topic, weight distribution system for vintage cruiser trailers. And we got the information we needed. And so as a community, those videos hit our specific interest. We were specific to that audience, and we got the result that we needed. So micro communities, campfires, are going to be these groups that are hyper specific to, let's say, gaming. Okay. Your lesson here is to be selective about who you identify as your customer. I know that we want, when I ask a client that's sitting in my office and I'll say, well, who's your customer? Anybody can buy what I'm producing. That's probably true. There isn't any restriction on who could buy it. But if you want to sell this product, you better find out who really wants it. Who really wants it from you, and who really wants it from you because it's the best. So this is where your work comes in, to be selective about how you identify your customer and know the features and behavior so that you can engage them in these micro communities. I think it's important to understand how these happen. And if we go back to Sarah Wilson's article, she has a tip on these. She said these campfires are not indexed by Google or advertised on these platforms. So when you're in a Facebook group, you don't get advertisements there. And that's very unique. So they're hard to find by traditional means. Study your audience to find little breadcrumbs that will lead you to their micro community campfires. Then partner with existing campfires to create your own, meaning that once you get in there, all right, so for example, if I was a yarn store and I wanted this community to buy from me, I might join these groups, but the way that they might find out about me is I might put something up about, here's a charity you can crochet for. It's mariners, and they're looking for hats and scarves for these folks that are on ships. Wow, we can all get behind that. And then everybody's posting what they made and when they sent it out, and the conversation ensues. But they got it from me if I was Liftbridge yarn store. All right, so they're going to know it came from me. They're going to know that they probably will come and visit me in the store because of that positive thing that I posted within the group. So your job is definitely going to be to figure out what those characteristics are, how you can be involved without being blatantly advertising to them, what you can do to engage them so that it's more sincere, more genuine, and that you secure customers. I mean, when you do this correctly, you're going to secure customers that are going to be very loyal to who you are. So I think that's worth getting to know more about micro community campfires as well. And then that leads right into the third area of these digital campfires, which is shared experience campfires. All right, so again, they're found on private and public forums, specific shared interest. So let's say gaming. All right, so who's got this game, who's been playing it? Always like-minded community. You're not going to see someone in, let's say, a gaming group who's never gamed. They're going to ask how long you've been gaming. They're going to let you in based on how like-minded you are with this community. The focus on this shared experience is gathering. So think about the campfire, people sitting around the campfire talking. If I had a group of gamers around that campfire, the conversation would be very different than if I had a group of crocheters around there. So the focus is on gathering together, having a need to interact with one another. It's member focused, and yes, they can kick you out if you don't apply the rules right. So the tip on this and shared, and so if we go back to the example that I gave about crocheting, that if as a yarn store, I gave them a charity that they could crochet for, the shared experience campfire defines that they would show photos, they would have conversations, they would ask questions, and maybe get advice and so on. Where did you send it? What kind of packaging did you use? The conversations coming about, but it's all with this like-minded community. So the tip is that entrepreneurs need to focus on customization of their audience. If you don't do anything in 2023, customize those customers so that you know their behaviors, what their interests are. I encourage people to write a customer profile. Who is this customer? How old are they? How much money do they make? What kind of clothes do they wear? Where do they go for a drink? Really understanding, do they work full time? Is it something where they're doing this business full time? I mean, really flush out who you want to sell to, because if you cast that wide net, you could be losing an opportunity to amass more sales in a very specific group. So entrepreneurs need to focus on customization for their audiences. It will not be enough to just copy and paste what you're doing now on other platforms, as it will not capture the audience that you want. It is essential to pay close attention to behaviors, what their uniqueness is, and determine what value you can bring to the community. So by posting a charity that you can crochet for adds value to the community from Liftbridge Yarns, okay? You'll need to be creative with your product offerings for sure. I think about these platforms, and as I was putting this program together and thinking about the mind-blowing concepts here, like, this is not easy stuff to think about. This is a shift that's going to require some very focused attention if, as a small business, you want to compete, because the big companies are already into this. They already understand it, and they have departments in marketing that are focused on this. So your job is going to be to figure out, who these customers are and who you're going to go after. It's not going to be this wide net. So I was thinking about my daughter, who is a performer, and she belongs on a couple of these websites where you can post your album, let's say, that was just released. And there was one that I was going to join because I wanted to see if I could get her to go in with me on this one. And the questions they were asking, like, this was a music performers group, and it was very specific. You had to be a full-time performer. You had to be able to share experiences and contact information. I just played a gig at the Kodak Theater. Here's the guy that I worked with. Here's his email, contact info. So I couldn't be let into that group. They said, no, you're not coming here because you're not full-time performer. You can't add any value to this group. You don't have a common goal that we do. We all want to succeed in music. That isn't your goal because you're not doing this full-time. And it's to leverage that group to help other musicians be successful. So when we think about shared experience campfires, we really have to be in alignment with what those groups are actually wanting to understand. So that is a lot of information. I'm sure that you're probably saying, I have no idea how I'm going to implement this for my business. But I will tell you, as I move forward, we'll definitely be talking about this. And I think that there's a lot of resources that we could provide that would help talk about this. I was thinking about having a, sort of like a Teams meeting with all my clients, and we could just discuss, how could we do this? So moving through 2023, I'm hoping to be able to have, some evening kinds of conversations where for like a half an hour, like on a Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, Monday night, whatever, where we can actually talk about this and maybe deal specifically with specific businesses, how we can leverage this information to hopefully convert online users as customers, okay? So this is a lot. So let's stop and review a little bit of what I've talked about so far. So we went through the social media platforms, and we identified that things are making a shift right now. They're burning down, they want more privacy, safety, and so on. The platforms on a regular broad-based posting kind of thing on social media, that's kind of usual and customary behavior, but it's on the decline. So we're seeing Gen Z and even baby boomers that are divesting out of regular posting. I see this with a lot of my friends where they used to post every day, and now maybe Pam will post something in 2 weeks, who knows? So there is a rather decline. And what that means for places like Facebook is when you don't have regular engagement of people on your platform, the advertisers don't come, because now there isn't anybody to sell to because this is in decline. So users are choosing to find smaller groups of like-minded friends. And I use that term loosely. They may not even know these people, but they may only know them online. but they talk all the time. Interests are focused and very specific to distinct characteristics, and these digital campfires include private messaging, micro communities, and shared experiences. Those are the three things you need to walk away with today, that is the shift. Digital campfires is the shift, and know that you're going to need to learn more about that. So where do we go from here? This is a lot. So number one, your marketing strategy is going to require that you continue to learn more about this shift in digital marketing. This is going to be a conversation that is going to pursue through 2023, and you're going to see it really come into play probably toward the end of the year, where you really need to be on board with this. So seeking out those webinars, audio podcasts, books, articles, topics, to learn as much as you can about this shift and how it relates to your business and how you can leverage it to convert people to being a customer. It means that you are going to have to reformulate your marketing approach to taking a deeper dive into demographics. So we need to obtain census data, industry reports, and information on specific populations, which can be had through census.gov. We can go to the libraries and get information. We can go online. We can watch webinars and listen to podcasts, and that's all going to teach us. We're definitely going to need to join marketing groups. I think that you're going to see over 2023 the emergence of specific marketing strategy groups that are dedicated to talking about how we engage these digital campfire topics to leverage it so that I can have customers and make sales. I think we're going to see that happen. You have to join that, that online conversation and learn their world and what's happening there. Develop those customer profiles in writing and for each demographic group. I remember back in, it had to be close to 10 years ago, Johnson & Johnson did a survey study of the word moms. So when we think of a mom, we think of, a woman with children. But what they discovered was that there were such a vast array of types of moms: working moms, stay-at-home moms, moms in school, that are getting more education, moms in a certain income bracket, and so on. So when they were, advertising Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo, they're going to have a marketing strategy different to the working mom than they are the at-home mom or the mom that's in school, maybe getting a graduate degree. So it's important that you break down these demographics and group and really have a marketing approach that understands the customer, and the key is really customization of that population. So you have some work cut out for you. You are going to have a marketing strategy, and it's going to have to be something that you integrate over time. So using multi-marketing approaches, so some online, some organic in person, and then offline marketing. And I think, the thing about offline marketing, everybody said it was dead. Nothing is ever dead. Nothing is ever dead. Dead means it's never coming back. And the reality is the evolution, like we're coming full circle now, because people are sick and tired of ads in their email, ads online, and just being in your face 24/7 to try and get your money to buy something. And it's gotten frustrating. It's gotten to the point where we just shut it off. So we're seeing a rise. And actually one of the articles in this Harvard Business Review, this winter 2022 issue, was why marketers are returning to traditional advertising. It's been really an anomaly to see how quickly, they expected it to come, but it's coming back so quickly. Consumer-facing companies are leading the shift to the business-to-consumer service companies, predicting the largest increase in traditional advertised spending, an increase of 10.2%. That is huge. And what's really interesting is that the companies, so online companies that typically sell just online, are leading the pack in terms of traditional offline marketing. What does that mean? You're getting a postcard in the mail with a QR code. You scan the code and it takes you to their website to introduce a new product or have a conversation or whatever it is. But offline marketing is really, it's reemerging and it's been very successful. I have used, offline, not marketing, but communications to get to my clients, because I will call them. And if they don't recognize the number, they don't pick up. I will email them. Nobody checks their email anymore, so it kind of just gets deleted. And I need to know, do you want to set up an appointment? Did you start your business? Did you get a survey? Have you answered it? So what do? I take one of my postcards like this. Maybe some of you here have gotten one of these, and it says, hi, remember me? I've been working with you on such and such business. I really need a status update because it's been more than 60 days and I haven't heard from you. Sure enough, as soon as they get this, why? They call me because the number's right there. It's real easy for them. I don't have to look up the number or check my phone. It's there. It's who I am, where I'm from, and how to get in touch with me. And the message is, call me. I have some questions. Works very successfully. And it will work very successfully for a business owner. So if the front of your postcard is a delicious, delectable chocolate on chocolate, like chocolate to the max muffin that you've now created, and there's only going to be 6 dozen available, and I'm going to release it on Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, come and get this. And I get a postcard the Saturday before. They're taking it, they're putting it in the car, they're putting it on the refrigerator because it's tangible. I don't have to remember it. I don't have to set something up in my phone to remind me. I can take it and I can go. Mr. Tire has been doing this for the last 5 years, sending postcards out for an advertisement and an oil change for X amount of dollars, usually a very good discount. I've been getting postcards from politicians when the election was going on. So offline marketing is really, very essential with any online business exclusively, or if you are bricks and mortar with an online presence. So offline marketing is defined as marketing is any activity that helps a company gain more customers, increase brand awareness, which is essential. Since the internet has become an essential source of information for most people, it can be challenging for offline marketing to compete with online. However, 10-point-something% increase in that. So we're going to see that growing more and more with each month that passes. And I would encourage you to think about postcard advertising. I get them from You Printing. I think it's like $40 for 500. It's not expensive, and you can design it yourself. Plaster a picture on there. You can do it frequently. Postcards are way cheaper than sending first class mail, for sure. And it provides an opportunity. People love getting postcards in the mail. I even belong to a postcard club. It's an international club, and I get addresses to send them to, and I tell people all about the Finger Lakes. And then I get all kinds of postcards from Germany and Belgium and Indonesia, and it's great. It's just great to be able to have that communication going on around the world. You can leverage the same thing in your business for brand awareness, for inviting them to come down, having an open house, a grand reopening, is good. And there's lots of things that you can do when it comes to offline marketing. So knowing that this is emerging, these are some things that I would encourage you and your business to do. And the first thing is to make sure that you coordinate online marketing with offline marketing. So I gave the example of a postcard in the mail for an online business with a QR code that took you to online. That's the kind of coordination we're talking about. Postcard campaigns, not expensive to do, highly effective. Customers come in with the postcards. You can tell them right on the bottom, bring this postcard for a 30% discount or a free gift or whatever. Pamphlets and flyers are still very much in play. So flyers can go up, they can go in business windows. I think of the Cobblestone Arts Center on 332 in Farmington, which is a place that provides theater and activity for people with disabilities. They use pamphlets and flyers all the time. People save them. Oh, we've got, the Bubble Man, the science guy coming, and we sent out flyers for that. We ask people within the organization to pass them out to family members. Rebranding your product. This is so essential. Very often we might see, why is that company changing their logo? Why is the color of the building different? I think of Target. They went with kind of a different, that was rebranding, giving it a fresh look, makes it look like new products coming in. So rebranding your product for a fresh approach works very well. Offer discounts and coupons and, try for free. I was recently in Venice, Florida last October, and there was a new homemade soap. I love homemade soaps. Personally milled soaps are my favorite. They gave me a sample that I used, and I used it up fairly quickly. So when I went down in New Year's, I went right to that shop and I bought like 8 bars of this soap to make sure that I had it. So I got to try it for free. It led to a very nice sale for that company. Loyalty programs are essential. I know people don't like to be bothered with them, but think about ways that you can have an ambassador program, a loyalty program, something that will continue to add value for the customer and will bring them back into your store or back online for additional purchases. Now, the next one is something that everybody should be doing anyway. That's cross-channel promotion, cross-channel marketing. So when the pandemic hit, probably the best example of this is the Merchant Association in Canandaigua. So everybody shut down. Can't go to the restaurant, can't go to the gym, can't go out of your house. Everything's in. What do we do? So they got together, and since curbside restaurant delivery was okay, so if I was buying tie-by-night food, when I opened up the bag, there was something in there that were coupons, discounts for other online experiences that we could do. And one of them was Lathe and Ladder, which was a workshop kind of business where you would typically go into the workshop, purchase your products, and then sit for a workshop where we could, make a home decor product. Well, in like a weekend, she flipped that on its head. She was shut down. She created a website, a place to purchase, and so on. She went into her shop, got these orders for the product, and then at 7 o'clock at night would hold a Zoom thing to show you how to make it. And what was really great is once they made everything, they would walk you around their house and say, here's where I'm going to put this home decor. Her profits tripled. That was cross-channel promotion. A restaurant order turned into home decor purchase. And you can do this, I think of, I have a theory called the spaghetti dinner table. When you think about what it takes to put a spaghetti dinner on, you've got the pasta, the sauce, the bowls, everything's in, the dishes and the forks and so on. So if every producer of those products brought people together, and I had the whole spaghetti dinner platform right here, that is cross-channel. I've got the people who sold me the table gave me a discount coupon for the company that makes homemade tablecloths, who then gave me, buy one, get one free homemade pasta. So cross-channel promotion is really essential, regardless of this shift or not. This is something everybody should be doing when marketing your business. And the best place to find those connections is at networking groups. If you go to a 7 o'clock a.m. networking group where you've got one of each kind of profession, real estate attorney, a CPA, a graphic designer, an aromatherapist, a massage therapist, you've got all these people and they bring you leads. That's cross-channel promotion as well. So the cross-channel promotion is really essential. So I think about things like, if I'm a homeschooler, how would I know about, let's say, a historical reenactment kind of service? And, that could be a cross-channel promotion with homeschool publications, a history book or whatever, or my local library, because homeschoolers use local libraries to the max, whether they're teaching, learning, getting books to read, finding out information, whatever. Having permission to put flyers in there about this particular historical reenactment type of thing could be really interesting. And then I get it, and I tell my whole network through threads, hey, let's hire someone to come and do this. That cross-channel promotion is absolutely going to be very worthwhile. Also, don't forget personal touch. I know everybody likes to send a thank you note through email that gets lost and deleted. For years and forever, I have always sent personal birthday cards signed, personal notes of thanks, congratulations, holiday cards, and I know a CPA who traditionally every single year sends a Thanksgiving card to all of his clients. They're all handwritten, they're all hand signed, and it's a great retention tool. And it also means that you're sitting down and thinking about that customer, and even setting up maybe a tickle file so that you know when to send things. Get involved in your community, sponsor a team, help a nonprofit with a walk, create your own event, so being involved in a community event is great, like Walk for Life or, Walk for Alzheimer's, whatever, and putting a team with your company logo on there, but create your own event. No reason why you can't. That could be something that you teach. I remember the mobile station when I lived in Liverpool, every Saturday afternoon, they had a women's mechanical workshop, and they taught you how to change oil, check the oil, how to replace a battery, all this stuff that typically you don't get in home economics. So you can create your own event and make it worthwhile and add value to the customer. Jumpstart a public relations with press releases. Don't hesitate to write press releases, whether they do anything with it or not. The more that you send them, eventually they're going to pick up on it. Hold a press conference. You can totally do that. You don't have to wait for someone to say. You can invite people to come, have all your family come, do an announcement, introduce new staff. No reason not to. Network with business professionals is absolutely essential. You want a network that's very broad and wide, that people by their first name, know what they do so that you can refer and they can refer. And then last but not least, participate in trade shows and really refine that 30-second pitch. They used to call it the elevator pitch, but it's just really how to distinctly say what you do so that people understand it in 30 seconds or less. And these are all offline methods that have been traditional. They have worked. Consumers are converted to buyers when you use these consistently. And I think that it's important that you keep them all in line. So with all of that said, where am I going to get all this information? So yes, Central Library Business Insight Center for sure. We can help you with the SBDC Research Network. I would include listening to podcasts. So for example, there's a podcast called Shake Up, and they talk about, a variety of topics. Duct Tape Marketing is a podcast that talks about all things marketing. Google 28 marketing podcasts that were on there that inspired, HubSpot, Contact Team, local libraries as well might have connections there. I think that the message here and what I want you to walk away with is that there is a shift that's happening quickly. You need to get on board with it to be competitive. You need to seek out and learn about these new platforms and find ways to learn by leveraging resources. Leverage your local libraries that have publications. So the Harvard Business Review, it's a $20 publication. That's not nothing. Right? That's significant, but it might be sitting on the shelf at the central library. It might be sitting at your local library. You could ask the librarian, do you get the Harvard Business Review so that you can read it every single month that it comes in? They should know you on a first name basis, and then sit and read, without any distractions, and just learn, take notes, keep a journal, and listen, keep your ear to the ground, so that you know what the buzz that's happening in your community with the people that you want to reach. And now that I'm almost hoarse, are there any questions out there? That was a lot of information.
Okay, we did get a couple questions near the beginning, but they were more on general service topics, so I
That's
wanted
okay.
to get things going. So one is, what's a resource I could connect with to assist with a business plan?
Okay, business plan development. There are tons of resources out there. Number one, the SBDC can help you. We have a platform called Skills. It has a template in there for preliminary drafting of a business plan. We can also get you from the Research Network sample business plan, so you kind of have an approach. You can go to the Central Library. They can pull a sample business plan for you. And not to mention, we have done workshops, like the first Wednesday workshops on business plan development. And you might check the Central Library YouTube channel for those that are on there. And again, here we have a hyper specific topic, and YouTube is at the center. How do you write a business plan? You can take information from YouTube, compare it with information that you've gathered from the SBDC and the Central Library, sample business plans, listening to podcasts, and you should have enough information that you can begin to start writing. Even if, and when you write a business plan, you don't start with the executive summary. That is the last piece that you write. But understanding what they mean by business description. We don't mean the best bakery in Monroe County. We mean that this is, if it's a restaurant, this is a full service restaurant organized as a limited liability company, filed in New York State, under and operating under the NAICS code. NAICS is the North American Industrial Classification Code. All right, and that's important because that puts you in a bucket. The description is very, very, very specific. The summary can be about, I'm going to be, a bakery, I'm going to serve cookies and cakes and That's kind of a summary. Description is very specific. So as you develop your business plan, get the resources you need. We have a publication called Blueprint to Success, has a template. We have the Skills. All of our services, all of our resources are free. So you don't have to worry about coming up with $5 to pay for anything. And then I would suggest sitting with an advisor that can go through it and refine it and help you do that. But you have to be the one to write it. You cannot hire someone. I've had more horror stories about people who hired someone to write the business plan, and it was absolute insignificant. Why? That writer isn't owning the business. They are not the ones that are going to operate the business. So to pay $2,500 to someone who's never going to step foot or operate that business is insane. You need to figure out, I don't care if you can write or not. I don't care if you're a one sentence person at a time or not. The reality is get it out of your head and on paper and get it reviewed and use samples to help direct the way.
Okay. Does your team help determine what research is needed when it comes to market
Absolutely.
research assistance?
90% of the time, 99% of the time, I'm submitting a request to the Research Network because we do understand what you're going to need. So for example, someone coming into me telling me that they want to, I had this situation. I had a diesel mechanic that wanted to do nothing but fix sewing machines. Okay. So what kind of resources would they need? What kind of research do they need? Well, census demographics, where are you going to do this? Who's the population? Then can we get an industry report on sewing that would tell us what is the profile of people who buy sewing machines and who use them? Okay, sometimes they buy a sewing machine because their kids in home and careers in high school and they need to work on their windsock or something. But for the most part, if you look at Hobby Lobby, any place, Joanne Fabrics, any place that sells machines and fabric, you're going to see a certain demographic emerge. If it were me, I'd be walking through the store for about 4 hours, watching who are the customers that are coming in, what are they buying. I know that's kind of like stalking, but not really. Anyway, so yes, we would take a look and see what is the Census Bureau demographic research for people who sew. Where do fabrics come from? What is a list of sewing machine parts? Where can I get parts for sewing machines? Okay, so maybe we can get a list for that. I'm a sewing machine company, but I guess I'm going to need some kind of bookkeeping. Who do you know that can do bookkeeping for me? All right, maybe I need a lawyer, CPA. So we research these things and we think ahead. What else are you going to need? And very often I'll get an email back after I've sent the data and the client will say, you know what, thanks for that. I never thought of that. Because we do help with understanding what type of research you may need, for sure.
Okay. I want a website that can showcase all my business ventures, blogs, social media sites, profiles, and buy a domain. What site can I build one through? I'm also going to extend this a little bit. Do you have anybody that actually helps assist with web design?
We don't have anyone in-house, nor would we be allowed to do the web design for a client, but we definitely have networks of people who do that type of web design. We're required to provide a minimum 3 names of companies and contact information so that you can check them out. But, you know, I would say for me, if I was looking for the best place, I would look for a similar site online. I would try to see what that format looks like. How did, you know, did I like it? Did I not like it? So that I could begin to sketch what my vision is for this website. And then I would begin to interview people who actually understand my vision and can build it the way I want it for the price that I can afford. And that's the way that I would approach it, is to really understand what I want first and then find that person who can do it, for sure.
What is marketing predictions saying about the comeback of newspaper and print media and advertising marketing?
It's on the rise. So the print industry has, I mean, you're seeing the evolution and I shouldn't say evolution, but evolving more and more. I'm sure that you've noticed that printing has been advertising more and more during prime time. I've noticed it. Printing used to be kind of a quiet second option to Vistaprint, and they're evolving. I mean, they're doing print, they're doing apparel. A lot of the printers in and around Rochester are seeing an uptick in the types of publications that they're producing. And so I think the outlook going forward is that we're going to see even more increase in the offline, and especially, now this is going to sound weird, online printing companies seeing an increase, as well as brick and mortar printers seeing more. And the kinds of things that they're developing, I think are going to you know, just make that grow even more. So I think 2023 is going to be a tipping point. We're going to see that excel over time. And as the year continues, we'll probably see more definition in terms of what type of print are we looking to do. Because I mean, that in itself can be a very specific topic. Are we printing on boxes? Are we printing on paper? Are we printing on t-shirts? So printing it overall is going to increase. And I think we'll see that grow over time. But I'm sure we could get an industry report from the library on that. For sure.
Okay. Any advice on how to handle negative reviews on platforms such as Etsy, eBay, etc.?
First thing you do is own it. I was in the hospitality industry for quite a few years, and frequently our hotel would get a negative response. The first thing you do is you own it. You say, thank you very much for that feedback. I am very happy to know that that's how you feel about this, and I'd like to address that with you. And then you give an explanation of what might have happened. So for example, my hotel got a very bad review for the room that they were in because they felt that the sheets were not clean. Well, the sheets were clean, but they weren't like super clean because they were older sheets. So while we understand, because that can be very bad for a hotel, since our job is to get heads in beds. If you're saying that the bed is not comfortable and that the sheets aren't clean, chances are people are going to say, I'm not going there. So the first thing is own it. Thank you very much for that feedback. I'm very happy to hear what you think of it. You have to be specific. I'm happy to hear what you think of it because I need that feedback in order to make things better or to address those issues. So here's what we've done since that was the complaint. We have had our entire housekeeping staff go through and sort out linens that may have been older and not as crisp. And then we've replaced them to make sure that we never have that situation again. However, in your next visit, we'd be happy to comp you a room and a wonderful stay, and you own it. You own it for what it is. You take that feedback on that that's your feedback for me, not the feedback. So I think that addressing it right away, taking ownership of it and offering an explanation or some resolution. And then again, we might also say, feel free to call our sales manager at this number. We'd be happy to discuss this even further with you. So I think ownership is the best thing. People, people definitely like to gripe. So that's what I would recommend.
Okay, that was the last question.
Awesome. You guys have been very patient. Thank you so much for sitting in today. It's almost 11:30, and I want to invite you to check out the SBDC website. Again, that's nysbdc.org. And if you want to make an appointment, I encourage you to do so, but also please engage in the resources at the Business Insight Center in the Central Library. It is right in your backyard. It is an amazing resource, and we collaborate on many things. Would encourage you for your business. It's the best place to start. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.